Backrooms might very well be my most anticipated movie of 2026, and part of that has to do with my love for the Kane Pixels Backrooms web series, and the other part just has to do with the fact that I'm from Wisconsin. If you're from Wisconsin, then you already know why there is so much hype for this movie, especially locally within the state. The original photograph from the 4chan post that kicked all of this off was taken in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And with this movie on the way, Wisconsinites like myself could not escape the local news segments and even my Facebook feed with my aunts and uncles talking about it. I'm not joking. It's been that impactful.
In Oshkosh, a place that looks ordinary, just a hobby store, sits at the center of one of the internet's most unsettling legends.
I've said before on this channel that box office numbers really don't interest me. That's money that neither you nor me will ever tangibly see. A listed budget tells you almost nothing about what a film actually costs, but I gotta admit, I was rooting for Backrooms. And watching it open alongside Obsession to collectively bury something like The Mandalorian and Grogu in the same weekend was more satisfying than I ever expected it to be. Walking out of a packed screening opening weekend, I was doing what I always do, and that's shamelessly eavesdropping on the conversations around me. I can't help it, I'm a people watcher. Two camps had clearly formed. The first felt the movie was about as strong as you could get with a Backrooms movie, given how lore-heavy the web series is, and how inherently difficult the Backrooms would be to stretch across a feature-length runtime. They thought it found a reasonable balance between honoring the source material and functioning as a standalone film. The second group wanted more chase sequences. They found the ending to be underwhelming because it was too ambiguous, and they felt that it never fully committed to being a horror movie. In short, it just wasn't scary enough. I think both opinions are perfectly fair, but I gotta say I land with the first camp. I found Backrooms to be a very, very, very good movie, but it wasn't great. The craft and the practical effects, the sets, the cinematography, the music, it's all so impressive. Kane Parsons belongs in a director's chair, and I genuinely think we're watching the start of a serious Hollywood career. What keeps this out of great territory is the writing, specifically what they do with the characters. And if you're looking for more of my spoiler-free thoughts, too bad, that's all you're getting. I had a really good time with this movie. Again, 6.5 out of 10. I don't do scores, but there you go. Anyways, we're gonna get into spoilers because I have a lot I want to say and I don't want to mince my words. I don't want to dance around certain things. We're just gonna get right into it. So if you haven't seen it, leave. Unless you don't care, then stick around. Spoilers from here on out. The scene that fully won me over came near the start of the third act. It's where Clark has Mary tied to a chair at a dinner table surrounded by grotesque imitations of people, or still life. It opens feeling like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage, and then it gradually becomes something stranger and harder to place, pushed into outright Lynchian territory with the deformed figure in the wheelchair flicking the light on and off. That image specifically reminded me of the 8th episode of Twin Peaks: The Return, which remains one of the most unsettling pieces of television ever made. This entire dinner table scene brings the film to a near halt, and some people might take that as the movie losing momentum and slowing down, but I thought it was exactly the right call. Everything up to that point moved very quickly, and the film needed a stretch where it could just sit inside its own atmosphere without rushing toward the next thing. But of course, I kinda have an issue with that, because it's a character moment, but none of the characters really worked for me. So all the scene really has is atmosphere and phenomenal visuals, but I really don't care for anyone involved here. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Clark is really where my feelings get complicated. He's doing a phenomenal job acting. He does so much with so little. And there is potential to his character. The concept behind Clark is really strong. He's a man who is emotionally frozen, incapable of moving past his divorce, and in that way he mirrors the Backrooms as a place, somewhere defined entirely by stagnation and the sensation of being trapped inside a memory that won't let go. That parallel is elegant. The problem is that the film doesn't do anything with it. Clark is an architect who wound up running a furniture store. I think that has a lot of potential, and it could tell you everything about a person and how they got to where they are. And the screenplay essentially uses it as justification for him to make creepy blueprint drawings. And that's it. He's an architect in an infinite structural space. There is so much potential there, and we really don't get much out of it. Again, that's not the actor's fault. He's doing his best, but the material just isn't meeting him. Dr. Mary Klein as a character is in the same position. Her performance holds up really well, but Mary as a written character is thin in ways that start to matter more as the film goes on. You're with her for the majority of the second half of the film, and you never really get enough of her inner life to make that feel fully earned. On one hand, I like how Clark kind of stops being the protagonist halfway through and then we follow Mary, but it's like, great, we're sacrificing one underdeveloped character for another. It makes me think of The Shining, where we follow Jack Torrance for the first half of the movie, and then he goes nuts, and then in the second half, we're more or less following strictly Danny and Wendy. The only difference is Danny, Wendy, and Jack are all fully developed characters. I don't really get that here. Mark Duplass turning up was a genuine pleasure. I'm not going to lie, I pulled the Leonardo DiCaprio and was like, oh. As someone who considers Creep to be one of the greatest horror films of the past 15 years, seeing him in this context was just amazing. I'm going to butcher the name, but Robert Bobrovsky, I think that's how you say it, as Pirate Clark, deserves an honorable mention here. He previously appeared in Alien Romulus as the Offspring, and I had no idea that Pirate Clark was a practical effect, let alone someone being played by an actual actor. I assume the whole thing was a combination of forced perspective and CGI, and finding out otherwise made me want to go back and rewatch every single scene he's in. The body language is so terrifying. I love it. The third act chase sequence where Mary is climbing an elevated stairwell trying not to fall had me completely locked in, and the staging felt almost shot for shot like the climax of Kane Parsons' short film, The Oldest View. Whether that was intentional or not, I can't say for certain, but for someone who's followed Kane Pixels' career since that very first Backrooms movie, I dig it. Speaking of, the film handles the broader Backrooms lore very carefully. There's enough present for longtime fans without the movie ever becoming dependent on that familiarity. So if you're someone who's walking in completely cold, you can kind of follow everything that happens and still feel the full weight of what the film is building toward. I also like how, again, this is coming with the territory, but it just sticks to Kane Parsons' work. If you're not terminally online, you might not know what I'm talking about, but there really isn't a singular Backrooms canon. There's a lot of different fan works where there's different levels to the Backrooms, and it's like there's a pool level and then there's a bouncy house thing, and it just ends up becoming like Five Nights at Freddy's stuff where it's very video gamey, and it's like, oh, you have to defeat this enemy to get to this next level, and it's like that ruins the mystique of what the Backrooms actually is supposed to be. And I think that Kane Parsons' version of the Backrooms is the best so far. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the fact that this movie doesn't adapt any of that slop that I was just talking about, but I'm happy this is just Kane Parsons' work and his work alone. Speaking of, Kane Parsons composed the score himself, and I loved it. I've been a big fan of his music even outside of the Backroom stuff. It's genuinely just a treat to subscribe to his YouTube channel, the Not Kane Parsons one, where you can actually just listen to the original music that he creates, since a lot of it's just so different and eclectic. The licensed music in this film is also really wonderful. I love how they use the caretakers everywhere at the end of time, in the scene where Mary watches her mother being institutionalized. Wow, I never thought I'd ever hear the caretakers everywhere at the end of time in a movie. What a great pick. If you're not aware, that album is fundamentally about memory deteriorating and the terror of losing yourself to time. So to use it here is perfect, even outside of that music being used constantly for TikTok horror videos. Speaking of TikTok, Ulterior Motives showed up in this movie, which I thought was wonderful. It's in the scene where Mary's at a party and she kind of like sneaks off to a different room, and you could hear it very disconnected, but it's in the background. You can hear it. And that song was a lost media thing. Essentially on TikTok, people didn't know what the name of the song was or the band, and so they were trying to figure out who that was, and it kind of fell into that liminal space vibe of it's a very old song that no one knows anything about. Another major positive is the cinematography, because it commits fully to the fluorescent fully lit look that the Backrooms aesthetic demands. I'm so happy the movie didn't abandon that. A lot of horror right now defaults to crushed shadows and desaturated color, which can work in the right context, but it would have to be the wrong choice in this case. I mean, right before this movie played, we saw the trailer for the next Evil Dead movie, and that was just so desaturated, and this was just the complete opposite. The horror of the Backrooms is that everything is visible, so keeping the image bright and clean makes the wrongness of what you're looking at land considerably harder than desaturation or darkness ever could. So in my opinion, Backrooms is a film that has real ambition and serious craft behind it. I was let down by the characters that needed way more time on the page, but again, Kane Parsons, man, holy shit, this guy can direct. He's the real deal. I'm so excited to see what he does next, because whatever it is, it's worth paying attention to. So I want to know, did you see Backrooms? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm Cole McCormick. You are watching Firewood Media. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to the channel members for supporting the work that I do. It's $1.99 a month. You get early access to select videos, access to the Discord server, the whole 9 yards. It's really cool. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.